let me go back to understanding the profile of Putin. So he's made comments where it's like, look, these presidents in America, they don't run America. They're going to come 4, 8 years, they're gone. 4, 8 years, they're gone. 4, 8 years, they're gone. Where, you know, I'm going to give you my impression of what you're saying. Tell me if this is exactly where you are. How long has Xi been in power, Rob? Can you type in how long Xi has been in power? China, Xi, how long has he been in power? You know, what is the timeline? Since what year? Okay. He has been in power since 2013. That's 11 years. 11 years allows you to know and read how to negotiate and do business with this person, China. Easier to know the person. Good, bad, ugly. Doesn't matter if they're a criminal or a good person, but at least you see patterns of consistency with 11 years. Do you think a part of, you know, his lack of trust comes from, hey, you know, they sit there and they negotiate with them, and Ukraine says, I'm willing to give up these warheads to you guys in return for protection. So they give up the 1,700 warheads, you know, the nuclear warheads that they had. You know which story I'm talking about. And then while they're doing this, Russia says, I'm willing to negotiate with you guys as long as you guys don't come east. And you have the meeting where James Baker, at the time U.S. Secretary of State, this is under Bush. You got, I think it's Reagan, or I think it's under Bush. Then German Chancellor Helmut Kohl and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, they make verbal assurances to Mikhail Gorbachev, February 1990, we're not going to go west. Okay. And then Baker famously told Gorbachev that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward beyond Germany, right? Okay. So now Putin's watching all this stuff happen. Then he comes into power, and then he's trying to find a way to improve the relationship with West. And then he realizes, they don't keep the promise. NATO doesn't keep the promise. I can't trust you guys. Do you think that's the part where he's like, West, whatever they say, don't believe it, because in 4 years it could change? Their promise today is not a 30-year promise. Their promise today is maybe a 4-year promise. Do you think that's how he looks at the West?
From his point of view, the West looks like people that promise for the period, leaders who promise for the period of time while they're in power. So if it's
You're right.
4 years, to put it this way, roughly, he's in power, he can promise for 4 years. And then every time you need to deal with new people, many times opposing positions because the opposition comes to power, and he needs to renegotiate from zero every time having those problems. And I think he tried to resolve the problem on a key level. He showed that in order to defend Russian interests, he's ready to use military force, and you can't not consider that. Other than that, in his eyes, Potsdamer system was destroyed, which had been created after Second World War, and now we need to build a new collective security system in Europe or the whole world. This is one of the key things. He mentions one of the key things that I myself talk about, but in his opinion, the West does not want to pose the question this way. So he said today that the West is playing one-sidedly to oppress. I'm offering a collective system of security, but you are oppressing us. You don't want to consider us. This is not equal relationships. We're not par.
Who do you think he trusts more? Do you think he trusts U.S. more, or do you think he trusts China more?
I don't think that he poses the question that way. I think he only believes in himself. And Russia themselves, look, by the sheer fact of their size and the border with China and the nuclear power, even though they're allies, they're containing and restraining China in a certain measure. When SSR lost the Cold War and Kissinger traveled to Kitaiden, Nixon in 1975, and this triangle of SSR, USA, China had been resolved not in USSR favor. China and US ended up being allies. Today, the question is posed the same way in this battle of United States and China, which is a key thing for Americans and China. Where is going to be Russia? This is something I always say inside Ukraine. When you want that Russia to be what are the extreme nationalists are demanding, that the Russia needs to fall down, that the West needs to destroy, take away their nuclear warheads. And I always ask, do you think the West needs a broken Russia, or do they need Russia as a factor that restrains China? And Putin clearly understands what he's trading with. He's trading with his position in relation to China. he is letting them understand that if things go really bad with the West, I'm going to go and join China. You're going to have to deal with a joint potential of China and Russia. And if not, I'm ready to stay neutral and play this role of containing China. So this is one of the key arguments in the negotiations.
But I'm asking a question a different way. The way I'm asking a question is, who do you trust more? Do you trust your enemies more, or do you trust your friends more? I trust my enemies a lot. Why?
Of course.
Me too.
I trust the fact that my enemies are doing whatever they can to kill me and put me out of business. Okay,
Let
great.
me quote the Bible here. There's a good phrase in the Bible. My enemy, why did you betray me? Why did you leave me? And it's clearly saying that the enemy, it's this character, subject that is most honest towards you. More honest than your friends, especially in the politics.
I believe you, and I'm fully with it. I fully subscribe to that. So the reason why I asked the trust question is, does he trust the fact that U.S. will not keep their promises? Does he trust the fact that, China, that's why I'm asking the question. Maybe let me ask you the question here for you, because you're at a position right now where a story just came out saying Ukraine to hold this, came up a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Ukraine to hold elections immediately after war. Zelenskyy, chief of staff, says, I'm sure you've seen this. And when that happens, I think you may be going back for you to run for office because, folks want you to run for president. And that's an aspiration that you have as well, that you think you can do a better job than Zelenskyy can. From your perspective, and I know this is going to be an interesting answer you'll give. I'm assuming I kind of have an idea what the answer is, but I'm, again, curious to know what you'll say. Who do you trust more on what they're going to be doing, Zelenskyy or Putin?
Putin.
You trust Putin more. Why is that?
Because the enemy is the best teacher. Putin is my opponent. And it's an honest battle. But internal politics is always dirty. And usually your best friends are the ones who betray you.
Have you ever spoken to Putin?
No, never spoke with him. We have incompatible ranks.
You've never been. You guys have not spent time together.
No.
Okay, got
Never.
it. Well, I'd be curious to know what that looks like.
You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but the last 13 and a half years, I've been working on my first fiction book to write, ever. Fiction book to write. And while I finished this book, a year ago, I got the strangest phone call about one of the characters in the book where the guy wanted to meet with me, and he read the book. And afterwards, it's like, wait a minute, am I the villain in the book? This is a story about a character named Asher, who is half Armenian, half Assyrian, whose father was involved in the Iranian Revolution, linked to Savak, working with the Shah, that they escape and he gets recruited to a secret society. Well, when you go to the secret society, it's been around for a couple thousand years. They've developed some of the craziest leaders of all time. And they test you. There's unique tests that they have at this society where they test to see your emotional mental toughness. One of the tests that they have is very rigorous. It's purely mental. Of course, there's a physical one, but one is mental and emotional. If you're Armenian, if you're Syrian, if you're Persian, this is a book you're going to be reading and saying, holy moly, this is the kind of stuff you talk about in here? Yes. If you're somebody that's fascinated by history, this is a book for you. Characters. There's a technology that this society, secret society, builds where you go into a vault. I won't spoil it for you. When you go down, they have a technology where you get to sit down and watch and have a 3-4 hour conversation with Tupac. You can set up a debate between Karl Marx and Ayn Rand. Karl Marx is in the book, who wrote Communist Manifesto. Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, is in the book. Marilyn Monroe explains the concept of seduction and sex in the book. When you read the book, it's about development of the next leaders in the world and how they do it and how they've been doing it for many years. And it's also about how to prevent the end of civilization and how this organization goes about doing it. So, I've never written a parenting book before, but if I ever wrote a parenting book, this is the closest thing to it because it's all mindset, a lot of crazy stories. Again, 13 and a half years. Trust me, I told myself I will not publish this book until I sell my insurance company and I'm fully disconnected from it, where it's no longer my responsibility 100%. When you read this, if you're a creative person, if you like fiction books, if you enjoyed Atlas Shrugged, or if you enjoy Divergent, if you like books like that, I think you're going to enjoy reading this book. It's the creative side. Business books is very easy. Here's how you do it. Here's how this how it works. This is very creative. If you haven't placed the order yet, now you can order it on Simon & Schuster, Amazon. I'm going to put the link up below somewhere here, maybe even in my profile. Go order the book and read it. I've never written a book where I can't wait to read your reviews to see what you think about this book. So I'm going on this wild journey, and we have some plans with this book here. If you support the things that I work on, I would appreciate you going and reading the book, order the book on Amazon, and then post a review. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.